So this is Career Lab Wednesday. Welcome, everybody. We are here every Wednesday from noon to 1 p.m. Central. And, we were just talking, Dr. Medlock and I were just kind of chatting about today's topic about taking risks in your career. And, one of the things that I've seen as a coach in the programs at Wright Foundation is that people, we come up with assignments for people to do to challenge their limiting beliefs in a simple way. And for example, a couple weeks ago, we had an assignment called Displease with Ease. And then we had an assignment called Criticize with Vision. And what happens is that oftentimes people will get an idea, and I'll share a one-woman story in particular that I'm working with. Hey, Joe, welcome. Welcome, Joe. So we're just getting kicked off here, and I'm introducing the topic of taking risks in your career. And this woman, she took a big risk in her career, and she went to her boss and said, I resign. And, that's a risky thing to do. And her boss says to her, oh, please, no. There's been so many people have resigned recently. What is going on? And then she says, okay, well, here's why everybody's leaving is because of the way that you're managing and the way that you're doing this stuff. And she gave her boss a lot of feedback. And how this fits into the topic today is that we encourage people to take smaller risks. So she got lucky because her boss could have just said, okay, fine, you're gone. And then she'd be like scrambling, finding what she's going to do next. And she probably would have gone into the next company at the same level and had to kind of work her way back in there and done a lot of the same work. Maybe she would have done it differently, who knows? But what we encourage people to do is to take smaller risks. And what she could have done differently is to say to her boss, hey, here's the things I'm seeing that aren't working well here. Do you want to hear more about that? As opposed to taking the huge risk and saying, I'm resigning. But what I've found in working with people, and there's research on this about the law of little things, about taking little steps instead of trying to take giant leaps all the time, is that for whatever reason, a lot of us seem to be programmed to see a vision very far out in the future of where we want to go, and then make a declaration and say, okay, I'm going to take this big, scary risk, and I'm going to have it be that way. And if I don't get it, then that's where the problem comes in, is because we'll often fail in it, or we won't really take the risk. And then we get to say to ourselves, oh, see, you didn't really do that anyway, or you're not really cut out for it. And we can kind of defeat ourselves a lot that way. But what we want to do is we want to look at that scary vision, at the thing that we initially come up with, and say, okay, so that's a level 10 risk. Now, let's get a whole bunch of level 3 to 5 risks lined up. And what are the risks that I can take pretty easily every day as I'm interacting with people? And I'm going to take those risks and I'm going to start to collect more data then, as opposed to making a giant leap. So that's our approach. And I wanted to share that as we're getting started today.
Thank you, George. I guess good.
Cool. Thank you, Dr. Medlock. But to realign for everybody, this is Career Lab Wednesday. We're here every Wednesday, noon to 1 p.m. Central. And love it when you engage with the topic, but we're really here to serve you. So any question that you have that's career related, that is open territory for us. So I would love to, Dr. Medlock, I'd love to check in with you. And
I just want to say,
so much for having you here.
I want to encourage James. Good to see you on the call today, and Tiffany. couple of our students, and always wanting to support you. A big part of our mission here at the Career Lab Wednesday is to support our students in advancing their careers. So glad to have you here, and welcome to hear your questions and what you're looking at wanting support for today. And of course, Joe, same from you. Good to see you again as well. So who would ever like to grab the mic, go right ahead. We'd love to hear what's on your minds.
So I'll start.
8:15.
We can give you an update on what's going on. I
Okay,
took the
Joe.
written test they finally had for the chief. And they narrowed it down from 12 to 8. So I'm on to phase 2 now, which starts early next month. And so I'm prepping for phase 2, which is, I think it consists of practical exercises with role players and written responses to questions that they're going to have. And so that's what I think is, it's 3 days, but not 3 full days. They're broken up into hours. And so that's phase 2, and then they'll break it down to probably the final 4, and then present that to the commission to choose from that group of 4. So I've made it to the next step. It's just continue on. And I think the preparation for the written is different than the preparation for this part, because it's going to be practical. And so I'm trying to figure out exactly, I love the challenge. I love while the process is taking quite long, but the challenge of trying to figure out what's next. And then, Dr. Wright, as you explained to me in previous things, it's just about being genuine and open and explaining stuff. So how do you make sure that you're up for the challenge, you're up for it, and then, what risks am I willing to take as far as answering or behaving during these questions or practical exercises? And so that's the next step is. So your topic is spot on,
Yeah.
George, and so it helps try to shape what I'm going to do next, 3 weeks to prep for this phase 2.
Oh, cool. Can you say more about the risks?
Well, the risks are, what do I not study? What do I study? So, what things can I don't have time to do everything, right? So I'm prepping on so my topic, I guess my risks are, what do I give up to so that I focus most of my time on the right topics, which are a guess by me, but I think I based on current events that are happening in Hawaii.
What I think is good about this, George, now let me pick this one up, okay, is I'm thinking of a book called Flawless Execution. It was written by fighter pilots who looked at how do they go about really executing a successful mission. And they prepare by anticipating all the risks. What are the things we need to watch for? What are the possible enemy fire we're going to get? What are the challenges? What are the weather challenges? They do a good scope of it. So they go into the battle knowing pretty well what the risks are and being ready to challenge them. So I think your preparation is really like that. You kind of know, and you have a lot of experience in leadership. So I think one of the things for you is, first of all, to trust your knowledge about how to handle practical situations and draw on that. So really looking at what your history has been in leadership roles that are very closely related to what you're applying for, and prepare some scenarios of what you've done successfully to address those challenges.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that will serve you when you've got that in your back pocket when they throw a question at you. By the way, are these going to be questions that you get to prepare ahead of time, or do they throw them at you unknown at the time of the interview?
They'll throw them at the time of the interview. They didn't tell us.
Okay. So you're going into I'm not going to say enemy territory. I don't want to put that frame on it. You're going into battle, and you want to prepare your own basically skill set related to the job as you understand it, and your ability to deliver on complex challenging situations, because you're probably going to use a good number of those stories in your responses. And I think for you also, we've gotten to know you over the past month or two as you've been on these calls. I trust your integrity around the way you deal with situations. You bring a lot of integrity to what you're doing. So I think for you, it's really trusting yourself.
Right.
So sometimes the risk is, the challenge is challenging the limiting beliefs that we have. Oh, I'm not ready for this, or can I really do this? So to be able to challenge those and come with the kind of confidence that you are able and ready to do this job, and that you kind of know that in your bones, I think, because you've been in this preparing for a long time.
No, I appreciate that. I mean, I have like a couple close friends that are asking me, why do I want to do this? I've already been in the epitome of my career in other ways. Why would I want to take this on? Especially at my age, not that I'm old, but that I don't need to. I don't need to be the leader of an organization again, right? And so I'm dealing with, those kinds of outside influences, but at the same time, I believe, as you just stated, I have the experience, I have the capability, I've demonstrated the skills necessary, and so I believe I'm the right person, and I want to do it. I have a desire to do it. I don't have to do it.
That's a great answer to the beginning question of why you're there. I think you're in good shape. I think you could do the interview tomorrow, frankly, but it's still good to prepare that kind of internal resume of your skills and accomplishments.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Joe. Good to have you back on the call.
Yeah, that sounds great. Dr. Medlock, thank you so much.
Sure.
Well, everybody, so we've got more folks joining in. Career Lab Wednesday, you are here. We are open to all questions career related. And I would love to hear Dr. Larissa Chuprina, if you are available. I'd love to hear from you and hear your progress. Good to see you. And I'll give some instructions for others. So we love it when you jump on Zoom like Joe and Dr. Larissa Chuprina. That's the easiest way for us to engage with you. If you're unable to, and you're just able to engage through LinkedIn Live, go ahead and ask your questions in the comments there. And Jane Coletta will get those over to us. But Dr. Larissa, so give us an update. How's it going?
I have not been doing much in work or job search, but I am doing my artistic expression. I submitted a book for publication with art and wording for language of love and kindness in 4 languages. So to find communication even between Ukrainian and Russian.
Oh, wow.
And it is a language that depicts virtues that unite us all as humanity: loving, caring, considerate, cooperative, and so on. So according to recent publications in professional development, now this is not so soft skills. Even human resources are looking for people who have these qualities.
Lovely.
So yes, so this is how I express myself in this way. And another thing, I am doing art, egg decoration, very ancient technique for 7,000 years, to raise money for Ukrainian families.
Nice. Wow.
And it also believes that as long as this tradition is alive, good will prevail over evil.
Beautiful. That's inspiring. And this is something about just understanding a person's narrative. That's what you're talking about, is you're in touch with what's going on at a bigger level than your career, and you're speaking to that, and you're moving forward, and you're communicating and contributing. That's the kind of human being that many people are looking for whatever position. I'm assuming your career is also related somehow to the fields of writing and art. Is that correct?
Uh, Partially. I am a linguist and education specialist.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes. So, but thanks to the work I do just for, I would say, it's just for my soul. It also attracts people and ask what I am doing for a living.
Yes.
And I had recent calls from people who ask for my services. So it can be contracts or private tutoring or something else.
Absolutely. So you're creating, well, your career is an expression of your larger mission in life, which is
Yes.
clearly to educate and inform and guide people. And you're living into that beautifully. And thank you for your work. It sounds like it's a very important contribution.
Yes, and
yes.
Dr. Medlik, I want to say, so Dr. Larissa Chuprina has done the More Life training and has been on a few career labs, and is a brilliant and lovely human being, as I'm sure you're picking up. And one of the things that we were talking about last time was this next wave of technology, learning technology, and how to get on this platform so that Larissa, you're able to connect with as many people as you want to, and to do the work that you're wanting to do. And so where it got more challenging when COVID happened, as I recall.
Yes, and I understand more and more that I so much more enjoy person to person and in real life. And my hope is that technology will support humanity rather than substitute it.
Yes. Well, it sounds like you're finding a way to do that also with your writing and your work. So, yeah, it's always the challenge. And but thank you for your participation today. Really appreciate it, and the perspective you're bringing. Yeah, are you from Ukraine or any of the other?
Yes, I'm from Ukraine, from Kharkiv, which is mostly affected. And miraculously, all my family members are alive and spiritually strong, so they don't even hide. They say, okay, a new round is coming. And when I was calling, I could hear the bombs, shells. They're shelling. This city is very close to the Russian border.
Oh my.
Yes.
Our prayers go out to you,
Yeah.
and I think the world is inspired by what Ukraine is doing right now. It's really cool. Amazing.
You know, yes, yes. However, I would like to hear another narrative to achieve peace as soon as possible.
Yes.
Because if it is victory at the expense of people's life, what is its country for? There is nobody to live there.
Thank you. That is excellent reframe of where the focus needs to be. Yeah, that this needs to stop.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, thank you. Well, is there anything that you're wanting on the career front? Any coaching or support that you're needing?
You know, I still need some help. I looked at the video that is provided in the Career Lab for LinkedIn and resume updating. However, I have not done it myself yet. So it's again, I learn better from doing, or if somebody is with me and leading me, or at least giving critique.
Well, you know, what we could do, George Donald, do you have a copy of your resume here?
In LinkedIn, or I can, how can I send, to whom I can send?
You could send it to me.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, send it to George
And
Donald.
I'm jumping on your LinkedIn to see if I can just get it there.
Yeah, it's probably an older version. I can probably give you
Yeah, send me a newer one.
yeah. And I have several. It depending where I am applying.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, for academia, I need a 6 pages CV.
Oh, yeah, it's a different game here.
Yes, but if it is like a company or maybe college, maybe 2 pages is fine. And again, depending what I am doing, I can do so many things.
Well, your point, by the way, have you sent it to George Donald? You have this, okay, good, because we might just throw it up on the screen, George Donald, for a few minutes to just give some feedback. But what I'm thinking is what you're saying is very important for everybody to understand. When you're applying for a job, you want your resume to be directly relevant to that particular job. So you might have a half a dozen resumes, basically the same content, but a different professional summary at the top. That positions you toward what you're doing. And of course, in your case, if you're looking for an academic job, you're going to have more of a CV as opposed to a standard resume, and that's a different game altogether than most people. But yes, you've got to know how to tailor that, because your resume is what people are looking at. If it's going through HR, they're looking to screen you out. So what you want to do is have a resume that says, oh yeah, this person is exactly what we're looking for. And so to the extent that you can reflect that in your resume, that's the way you want to go. And so it's useful to have some tailoring of that for each job that you're doing if needed. In some cases, the job may be rather standard and you don't need to do a lot of that customization. But in your case, it sounds like there are at least several different kinds of work that you might want to do. So
I have a question. If I need to send something for a contract, not specifically to be hired as a full-timer, but some non-for-profit organization want a trainer or maybe temporary teacher to work with refugees, for example. And I do resilience training and ESL and cultural and emotional support.
Yes.
What kind of resume, or should it be like bio or short statement?
Yeah, great question. So what you're really an independent consultant right now at this point. You're actually your own business. So what you want is in the resume world, we call it a functional resume. But what it actually is like almost like an online brochure of your services. So you're going to have 3 or 4 headings of your major areas of language, aptitude, resilience training, whatever the ones that you've got on your list that are going to be most relevant to what you're doing, with bullet points underneath those of your accomplishments in those areas. So that people can see, oh, she's got 20 years of experience in language and she's got these language abilities and she's able to facilitate and teach that. She's got this amount of skills and this success in working on resilience training. So you've got a number of bullet points under each one, and you've got maybe 3, maximum 4 categories of services you're providing, so you don't overwhelm them with too much. And you have a professional summary at the top that talks about your business. You are an independent, you're a business unto yourself that is in the educational and educational world. And so you're really putting together a brochure, if you will, that you can then send out to people and to organizations to show how you can contribute.
Oh, this would be probably the best help for me.
Good.
Yeah.
So why don't you take a shot at that and send a copy to George Donald and me. George Donald can forward what you've sent him, and then we'll get you some feedback on it. Okay, I'll be happy to review it.
Wonderful.
Yeah, let's check in on it next week, Larissa.
Yes. All right.
Perfect.
Wonderful.
Thank you, and thank you for the inspiration today to share your fight and your commitment to seeking peace in that.
Yeah, standing for peace. Standing for peace.
Stand in for peace. Okay.
Standing for peace. Yes. Yes, I don't want to fight. I want to stand, to be.
Oh, beautiful.
Stand for peace. Okay. Yes. Thank you.
Yeah. Oh, thank you.
Yeah. And do you remember "Let us be" Budьмо? Yeah.
Sure.
Budьмо. It's Ukrainian toast. Budьмо means "let us be."
Budьmo.
Budьмо. Let us be. Yeah.
Thank you. Can you put that in the chat for us?
All right, all right. And one more question. Do I need to include my presentations at conferences or at as invited guest speaker and publications? I have quite a few.
For your brochure, I
Yeah.
would have a footnote that says for further information on publications and conferences, just let me know and I'll send you a follow-up copy. You can have a whole nother piece on all your publications and presentations. You could tailor that to who it is that's asking. So if it's a particular nonprofit, you would focus on the areas that were most relevant for that group, that kind of thing.
But not to include there, right?
I think it'd be too overwhelming. It depends. You want to, first of all, just give the impression of here's what I can do for you. And you've got a client list or a publications list and a publications list that could be quite extensive probably. So you don't want to overwhelm them with too much stuff. This is-
Okay.
Remember, the purpose of this is to get a meeting.
Yes, yes.
That's all it has to do. A resume is just to get a meeting. That's its whole purpose. You don't have to don't tell them everything, but give them enough to work from and say, yeah, this is a person we want to talk to.
Okay, thank you so much. Yes,
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Yes.
So
Thank
who
you.
else? Yeah, we've got a lot of new faces here. So if anybody'd like to jump in, please, or anybody inspired by what we just heard, that would be lovely.
I'd like to jump in.
Yes, hey, James.
So I wanted to pursue a career in IT.
Mhm.
And my concern is two things. One, investing the time to develop myself only to discover that I don't like it. And then I can't use the skills anywhere else. The second thing is being on call for 24 hours or weekends when I have some medical issues that I'm dealing with. And I don't know how to get around that.
And you're
I'm
currently
getting older.
You're
I'm
working,
working.
right, James?
I'm working at Cook County Government and Records.
Okay.
I like computers. I like helping people. But I don't want to find myself in a situation where I invest time and then I make a transition, then I get stuck in it.
And you mentioned medical considerations too. Is it becoming difficult for you to do your job with the medical issues that are going on right now?
I'm doing the job okay. Working out with some accommodations, but the being on call thing is something that would be very risky, especially when it comes down to the computer.
So what do you need from us today? How can we help you with that?
Well, I want to take a risk, but I'm afraid to take it.
What's the risk you'd like to take?
Developing myself into IT, and then that's the move I want to make. And then moving into IT versus investing my time in doing something else.
So have you done any training in IT?
I have. It's outdated, but I can do it again.
What area of IT are you interested in moving into?
Right now, it'll be networking.
Systems networking of IT systems?
Yes.
Good.
But
And
for me, that's a start. The idea would be obviously to continue moving to higher levels, but yes, that would be what I want to do.
How much experience and training have you already done in that area?
I don't have much experience in it other than playing on the computer. Training, I did some training. I don't have any certification. My one certification that I had lapsed.
So your next job is right in front of you. You need to do a training in networking. It does two things. It starts building your skill set and it starts showing people your interest in developing in that area. Actions count much more than words in this game. So you actually having a story of your yearning and engagement in your own training and development is going to speak a lot in terms of your commitment around it.
Okay.
Yeah, I would do a search on it, talk to other people in the field that are doing networking. What would they recommend in terms of a good skill development area for you to get into that? Talk to anyone you know who's doing it to find out how that work is and what you find inspiring. So informational interviewing with people that are doing the job you like to do is also a very important part of your research.
That's great. I'm wondering too, James, is there any crossover at your current job? Is there any certifications or any advancement there that you could, double up on it?
We
James,
lost you,
oh,
James.
maybe, yeah, we may have lost you there.
I don't know. I do know that, well, of course, we have an IT department, but I don't think that answers your question.
I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
I'm not sure if there's positions or certification that your current employer might be part of that they may be, wanting you to do that would be in sync with what you're interested in.
For that, I would have to find out. But the first level, there's a first level certification that everyone is, I won't say required to have, but it's highly recommended. That would be perhaps my first step.
What certification is that, James? What is it?
A+.
Mhm.
It
And that's-
basically says that you understand the basics of computer hardware.
That's what that is? Mhm.
Yes.
Cool. Okay. Do you like going to school?
I do.
Good. Have some fun with it. Start building.
Okay.
Responsibility.
Cool. James, thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks for sharing, and look forward to hearing about your next steps with this and supporting you in it.
Yeah.
All right.
Thanks for contributing. So you want to level set us a little here, George Donald?
Yeah. So everybody who's joined in, welcome to Career Lab Wednesday. We're here every Wednesday from noon to 1 p.m. And what we've been looking at is risks and breaking those risks down into smaller risks in career. Oftentimes we get people they're unhappy with something in their job and they want to jump ship to something entirely new. And, there's the whole idea that the grass is greener on the other side, and then you get there and you find out it's not. But what we find is more meaningful for people is to identify smaller risks, to collect more data right where they're at. So we've had Dr. Larissa Truprina looking at, you're taking all kinds of risks right now and identifying those risks even breaking it down to how you share about yourself in your resume. James looking at the next conversations, having some of those, interviewing people about what they're doing. And sometimes we have a lot more available to us right where we're at than, and maybe for whatever reason, we've hypnotized ourselves out of seeing the possibilities. So sometimes it's just really helpful to look at what we want in kind of a long-term way. What are the ideas that scare us and would be like a level 10 risk? And then to break that down and say, okay, great. What are the level 3, 4, 5 risks I can take right now, tomorrow, next week, that will help me get more of an idea about how to really reach that bigger goal? So we've been talking about that, but as always, we are open to all career-related questions. We're here to serve you in your journey of becoming the most you can become, you reaching your potential, and your career being a vessel for you to do that. Welcome, Robert. Good to see you. And welcome, Eric. Good to have you back. So I'm just opening up the floor to all questions. How can we serve you today?
I'm kind of curious to hear from Tiffany. I know you've been sort of joining us on these calls, and I know you're a WGU student. Would just be curious to hear what you're thinking of in terms of your career direction right now. Hi, Tiffany.
Hello, I was eating lunch, but thank you for the invitation.
Okay.
So I'll take this invitation. Yes, well, I was just soaking up in what George Donald was just saying about the risk. And so I was just trying to think about what kind of risk can I take in my present job. And that has been something that's been brought to my attention by my supervisor too, about in my evaluation, how I'm not speaking up much or giving a lot of ideas. And I do have a lot of ideas, but just to me, historically, it has been difficult to just speak up, and not just, but to speak up in those situations. And so that would be risky, and show more of myself and what I can offer. I think I'm still just kind of just looking to see what things are going, how things are, trying to fit in.
So, by any chance, are you an analyzer? I'm just
Yes,
yeah.
I am. Yes, it's a primary one, secondary cooperator.
Yeah, so we analyzers want to just make sure we know exactly what the lay of the land is before we're going to open our mouths, right? You know, and the fact is, one of the things we teach it right is to trust our own intuition, trust our gut sense of something. It doesn't necessarily have to go through all that cognitive processing to express the thing that's really on your heart or in your gut that you think is necessary for the organization to be thinking about or hearing. So I'd be curious to hear of the things that you might be speaking out about, that you might have strong feelings about, or a place in your heart or a sense in your gut where this doesn't feel right, or I want to see us do something. Can you share something about what might be a risk you might take in expressing some of that?
Yeah, that's very interesting about the intuition. I've been thinking about that a lot as well lately. As far as specifically, I've been thinking a lot about belonging. I work with students, college students, and ways to increase their sense of not just belonging, but like inclusion and giving them that extra support and value for who they are and what they can contribute as they seek their academic goals.
Beautiful. You work in an educational environment?
Yes, I do, at a college, a university, a four-year university.
Which college?
Murray State University.
And where is that?
Murray, Kentucky, Murray.
Murray State, but I mean, where is it located?
Oh, Western Kentucky.
Western Kentucky, okay.
It's a rural area.
Yeah.
Closer to the Tennessee side.
Okay, yeah, gotcha. And are there, in terms of the inclusion side of it, are there diversity issues and stuff that are relevant to what you're feeling in terms of wanting to create more belonging?
I think so.
Yeah. Well, you know, I think that's such an important area. You know, we're going through our own review of our own diversity and inclusion areas of our work at Wright, and really taking a deep dive into that. In fact, I'm having a meeting today for my own personal development plan in that area. And it's really, really helpful and really important, I think, to open people to these kinds of issues. And I would think certainly in higher education, there'd be an opening to expect that and want that more. It's very consistent with the values of education in universities. So, and it sounds like you might be in a position where you could make a difference in some of those areas.
Yes.
So I'm noticing a certain tentativeness about even having this conversation right now. How are you feeling about that?
I think I'm glad you asked me that question, like to answer it on the spot when you asked, like, what's right now, you know, like what is something in my intuition that I might feel something about. And, or else I would usually like, oh, let me think a list and then choose and knock it off, which
Yeah.
one.
I get it. I get it. From one analyzer to another, I understand that, and it's, so there is a sense of risk of not having all the check boxes checked and trusting your gut and expressing what feels true, right? That feels risky to you, scary, sounds like. Like, what if you
Yes.
say the wrong thing, or could you get in trouble or whatever?
Not having maybe all the information.
Yeah. And there's something about trusting ourselves in this, I think, that's really important. That's it's not necessarily, I don't think, about having all the, actually having all the information includes having all the emotional information about what's going on inside that makes this matter for you. And trusting that and knowing that getting that expressed is sufficient to start a conversation.
And is pretty vulnerable stuff. And one of the things that I know you're trained in, Tiffany, and that you might be able to apply here, and I'll kind of share this for everybody, is if it's risky to speak up in a meeting, if you can break that risk all the way down to level 1 risk. Maybe it's agreeing. So notice who are the people and what are the agendas that are happening that you agree with, and making a point to say, I agree. Because how on a scale of 1 to 10, how risky would that be in a meeting?
Pretty low. Maybe
Okay.
2.
Maybe 2. Okay, cool. And then it's probably a little riskier, but you might be able to look for the spots too where you would say, I don't know about that. Because then you might get the attention focused on you. And so that might be, where would you put that at as in terms of level of risk?
That's considerably higher, maybe a 6 or a 7.
Okay.
Mhm.
So the game then is to play with the ones that you know you can do, and start to get comfortable in that. I've been going into cold water, and so I started off and I was in for 18 seconds and I thought I was going to die, but that helped me. Then the next time I was in for 2 minutes, because like, well, I didn't die in that 18 seconds, so I was able to actually kind of stay with it. So you can build on this if you're intentional with it and you're paying attention to your strategy and your feelings and saying, okay, wow, I just was more engaged in that meeting. I agreed with people. People got a sense of where I'm at. And you know what? I started to see their smiles and I'm belonging more here. Okay, cool. And then that becomes your new normal. That becomes your new baseline. And keep going with that. And then you'll get to the point where you might not even need to say, I don't know about that. You might just the fact that you say, well, that the people are expecting you to say, I like that, or I agree, and then you don't. Then you might find, oh my goodness, I have more power and more influence than I thought. People might just start to look at you differently. And so this is part of the game of doing things slightly differently, taking small risks. And then, what we say is that the game is really to increase your consciousness, develop your self-observing ego. And as you do so, you'll make more choices that you like. Cool.
Yes, that's very cool. Thank you both.
Yeah, you bet. I look forward to hearing what you the expansion of your belongingness.
Sure, yes, I'm going to work on my vision.
Cool.
And what a great example of what we're talking about today. Nice work with that, George Donald. That was good. I like it.
Thank you.
Sweet. Well, I would love to hear Cynthia. What's going on?
Hey, I actually I'm here to listen today, if that's okay.
Absolutely. For sure. For sure, for sure. Well, Eric, I don't know if you're in a spot where you're able to check in. I know you've had a lot going on. Hey, I see you there.
Let me. Is that lighting? Okay, that's a bit better. Ironically, turning off the light, well, works a bit better. No, it's been good. I know we're having our annual reviews coming up, so I'm curious to see how that goes. So they just said that we're going to have our meetings. I guess kind of along the risk theme, I guess kind of in a sense with this new company that's been created, what are some strategies or tactics, whatever that, I could potentially do to take advantage of being in a potential high growth environment that I'll be in. Maybe not specifically within my role, but maybe just in general.
Oh, yeah.
So if it makes sense when I'm like trying, like, I know what I want to ask, but I'm trying to like find the right way to describe it.
Well, tell us about the expansion.
Yeah. So, I guess it's probably okay to talk about since it's basically public now, but so Tate and Lyle, they were a large food ingredient company. They also did, I think, some stuff for like agriculture purposes, but they did a lot of like food ingredient supplying for Hershey's, Kellogg's, if you name it, they probably sold stuff to you. And what recently happened is they spun off part of the business and basically sold most of the control to a private equity firm, KPS, who owns 60% of the new company, and Tate Lyle owns 40% of the new company that I'm in, Premium. And so the gist that I got from the town hall that we had, it seems very like high energy, high growth. They're really going to want to push the boundary now that, we're not necessarily limited by, kind of the other aspects of the Tate and Lyle business. And so, kind of with that in mind, I figured, well, I want to try to take advantage of that, I guess not only for, to help the company, but also to help my own career, right? Because that's kind of important. And so just trying to think of, get some any ideas for like strategies or things I can do to kind of position myself in, what could potentially a really lucrative opportunity for the right person.
Okay. Well, this sounds exciting. You've got your feet on the ground there. What do you see as the opportunity for you?
Yeah, I think one of the things that's kind of becoming apparent right now is we have a relationship with a customer, an international customer. Very, it's not just like we sell product to them, like it's a big partnership. And so there's a lot of kind of establishing processes and really kind of building that relationship, because it's a bit complicated behind the scenes for how we'll interact and sell products to them. But that could be something I'm already kind of being heavily involved within, working with this, what they call, I guess, like a business relationship manager position that's been hired to help basically manage the relationship with this customer. So that could be something, I think in general, kind of helping to establish communication and other processes, something along the lines, because the big thing will be communicating what we produce, because a big part of this relationship is we're producing it, but Tate and Lyle is then selling it. In the
Okay.
simplest way to describe it.
How closely are you working with that manager?
Pretty closely. I've had several meetings with him so far. We're gonna have several meetings over the future, just because there's a lot of volume and money involved with this partnership with this international customer. So, it'll probably be, 2 or 3 meetings a month at least. And in terms of kind of where I'm at, he's definitely at least at my boss's level. I don't know if he'd be considered at my boss's level, in terms of hierarchy. But he's, definitely above my hierarchy level. So,
Okay. Well, Dr. Medlock, what do you think Eric should ask?
Well, what I'm thinking, and I did miss some of the context in that. I apologize for having to get off for a moment. But what I'd like to hear is we're talking about the nature of risk. What are the risks you're anticipating here that you are looking at for yourself?
yeah, I think the big risk is a big part of my job is going to be or judged on how accurate are my production or working with the 10 mile planners is how accurate the production is going to be. So like, if we say we're supposed to make 9,000 bags of something and we make, 8,000, if that's not within the range, there's going to be financial penalties on Primient because we're technically making it. And so, I imagine if you plan poorly enough and incur enough of those penalties on Primient because you didn't plan well enough that you're going to be, shown the door, given your pink slip, whatever you want to call it. So that's going to be a huge risk that I'll have to actively make sure that, do I balance between being conservative enough so I still in that range, but I don't want to underproduce and then have stock outs because that's also going to be bad.
How much experience do you have in doing those kind of estimates and creating those plans?
I have a bit. Before I took this role, I had some demand planning experience. I would every year there's a annual promotion that was done within our group to sell. This was an automotive aftermarket parts. I had a bit of a cushion in the sense of if I were to overproduce, the holding costs, one, weren't that major, and two, we were usually entering our busy season of the year. So anything that was overbuilt, it wasn't a big deal because we'll probably sell it in like a month later on anyway, versus here, this isn't like a gasket or something that doesn't expire. I can't overproduce. If it sits there for 3 to 6 months or whatever, then either it goes bad or it's not sellable to 90% of our customers.
So this is really an art, what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I had a good friend who was good he had an unusual combination of an artistic temperament and the ability to do these kinds of estimates on big jobs right down to the nickel, but he would charge a huge amount of money just to do the estimate because the amount of work that goes into creating it is huge. So on you guys, you're not operating as an independent consultant. This is part of you're going to have to build that into your pricing, right? But you've got to really do your homework on this, right? And look at all the contingencies and
right.
So do you enjoy that? Is that something you do well and enjoy doing?
I think so far it's been a really good learning experience. This role had been something that I'd been wanting to do for a very long time.
Cool.
It's definitely a change of industries going from, making aftermarket parts to making, corn syrup and a bunch of other stuff.
Mhm.
But I think it's just going to be having to factor that risk and find the right balance of being conservative. So I stay within the ranges of what's for each product group that I'm planning for, but also not underestimating it to the point of stock out. But I know.
So have you got a support team? Do you have people that are good at this that you have on your team to help you be good?
Yeah, I will say the other folks, the other planners that are on the Primient side, they're all very good, very knowledgeable, really good people. So there's, it's not like I'll be swimming alone.
Yeah, cool.
So
just socialize your solutions, keep reaching out, get feedback. Don't do it alone and in a silo. So by the time it comes out, it's not just you out there alone with this risk, but you've also got a lot of other signatures on it that say this looks good. And I think you'll be fine. That sounds to me like you've got a really interest in it. It's a good career move for you. And I'm betting on you. I'll put some money on it. So
Cool.
Yeah, we've been practicing, or it's kind of a lot of it was there. I think it was just the risk wasn't as heightened as it is now. There wasn't financial penalties in place if we, outside of just not either being able to sell product or being overstocked. But I think now it's just more of like there's more teeth to if you get it wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Eric, I want to check in on something that Dr. Medlock mentioned is what kind of how much of a team player are you?
Yeah, well, in my undergrad, you know, teamwork was a huge emphasis at the Krannert School of Business. Like literally, I think pretty much most of my classes I had through Krannert, you were in a team, either throughout the semester or at certain points of semester. So you had to learn to be a team player very quickly. Otherwise, you were SOL. So I would consider myself a pretty darn good team player.
Cool.
Good.
Cool. Great. I thought of myself as a good team player and then did some assessments and found out that I'm not. And I've done a lot of work to become a better team player. So glad to hear that you've had assessments and you've been working on it.
You are also a great team player, I'll tell you that. So you learned your lessons, I can tell you.
Thank you. Thank you. Cool. And the other thing, you know, is one of the questions that Dr. Bob Wright and Dr. Medlock, I think I've heard you ask before, is if you go to your boss and also the manager that you're talking about, and you can say to them, if there's 1 to 3 things that you want handled that would just make your life so much better, what is that? What are those? And that way, and you just get what it is from them, and then you can also help align the team to making sure that stuff is handled. And in my experience in working with people, there was one woman I'm remembering who there was this unknown project. It was going to be a serious pain in the ass, and there might not even be any, at the end of it, any clear value created. But her boss really wanted that done. He saw it as a bigger part of the vision where the company was going. And it was very challenging and not a kind of a thankless job. But when she did that and she talked to him and got, okay, he really wants me there, it allowed her to know, okay, even if I fail, even if all I come back with is data that we don't know really, at least that's going to help satisfy him in this way. And she got to look at all the ways that she was going to really learn from that, even though it was incredibly uncomfortable. She did it, and it actually helped launch her into a killer position at the company of her dreams. So there can be great value in, even if you're like, man, I don't see how this is going to work, but geez, my boss really cares about it. It can be quite a learning opportunity. And if you get your boss's buy-in on, hey, even if it fails, or even if it, this doesn't go somewhere, but I really appreciate you investigating it. I just don't have the time to do it.
Yeah.
I just wanted to put that out there as a strategy for working with your manager and boss.
Good call.
Yep.
So, okay, well, we're almost at time here, George Donald. So anything we want to let people know about in terms of things coming up or ways we can support them?
I mean, we've always got stuff coming up that we want to share about. Thank you, everybody who attended the Take Charge of Your Life event last Thursday. It was awesome to see a lot of you there. Really appreciate that. Our next event coming up is on emotional intelligence. Jillian Eichel, our director of coaching, is going to be hosting that. So we will make sure to share that link. It's another Thursday evening, 6 to 8 p.m. Central Time. And then our next More Life training is June. I haven't looked at the dates. I think it's the 8th.
I think it's second and third. I think it's second and third.
Second and third. Thank you, Dr. Medlock. Yes, there it is. The third and fourth.
Third and fourth.
Thank you, Jane. So if you haven't done that, do it. Dr. Larissa Shuprina, we talked about you assisting on that one. It's an awesome place to also assist if you want to learn a lot of the technology that we use. People who are in tech, when they do our trainings online, they're like, y'all are next level. It's amazing what you do. So great to have you there. All right.
That's it. That's a wrap.
Take care, everybody.
Take care, all. Good luck.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody, for your questions and your engagement. We'll see you next week.